My name's Collin Jarvis, and I've had an ostomy since 2014. Before I was sick, I was a collegiate athlete, and my whole life was involved in this sport of long distance running. It was really meaningful to me. So when I got sick, I was really afraid that that would never be a part of my life again. When I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I was in my junior year of college at UC Berkeley, and I was competing for the track and field and cross-country teams, and that was my whole life. I threw everything that I had into that sport. It had my total attention, and when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, it became increasingly more difficult to be able to do those things. As my illness progressed, I started to be told by the doctors that an ostomy would be a likely scenario. I got the surgery, and it was really difficult those first few months, but the immediate silver lining was that for the first time in months, almost a year really, I was out of chronic pain. And there were definitely a few months of extreme difficulty in the beginning where I was just very depressed and again, afraid of what it meant to have an ostomy, what other people might think, what I thought of myself. All of these things were compounding to make it incredibly difficult. But I realized after a few months of that went by that it was just not a reasonable way to go through life. And I made the decision to go on a backpacking trip to New Zealand. You know, once I came back home after the trip, I had an entirely renewed perspective. So I re-enrolled in school, and to my surprise, even was able to compete again as a collegiate athlete. The ostomy was not what I had thought it was initially, and it was largely concerns and stigma that I held in my own mind, and it was just a matter of finding the right tools and the right tricks and what worked for me to be able to do all these things that made my life normal. I don't know if I have an out-of-the-box solution for anybody, but I think that's part of this journey of having an ostomy is figuring out what your specific setup is, because there's so many options and combinations out there, and it's worthwhile to spend the time in the beginning to find that setup that works. I'm a big proponent of the two-piece appliances because I feel that the floating flange allows for a lot more flexibility and movement, because I'm a very active person and that's important to me. So I usually recommend that when somebody's coming to me for advice. Beyond that, barrier rings are usually a must. I think almost everybody with an ostomy would be better served to also have the barrier rings added, and if you can get the ceramide in that, even better. I use products with ceramide in them because it helps keep the skin around my stoma healthier, which is super important if you've got an ostomy, because that's everything, right? You've got to be comfortable throughout your day. And the ceramide's just going to be gentler on the skin. And when I was first deciding what appliance to work with, I landed on Hollister naturally. And I think that I haven't had any skin health issues in almost 8 years. And that's, I believe, largely because of the ceramide that's in the appliances that I've used all that time. The ostomy was not the impediment that I thought it was, and that really it was my own mindset that I needed to get past. And so once I had that shift in perspective, the world opened back up.